Good morning to you. For Telesur, I'm Reagan Devines in Caracas, Venezuela. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to our morning news program from the South. Our top story takes us to Venezuela. According to new evidence released by President Nicolas Maduro, more than 30 armed groups are involved in a plot to overthrow the government. He said financing for these groups come from U.S. and Colombian politicians and officials. The president released what he says is evidence of a major destabilization plot. It includes a plan to assassinate jailed opposition figure Leopoldo Lopez. The president alleged that the armed groups are linked to both right-wing political parties within Venezuela as well as former Colombian President Alvaro Uribe. A jailed murderer has confessed that he was trained by Colombian paramilitary troops.
In a place in the outskirts of Cúcuta, Venezuela, a retired general whose name I don't remember and other people were watching held training by Colombian parliamentary members. All of us there knew who they were.
Meanwhile, in Ecuador, opposition protests and anti-government violence are continuing. While the capital of Quito was calm this Tuesday, anti-government groups clashed with police in the southern province of Loja. Around 600 police were attacked while trying to clear roadblocks, leading to 30 arrests. One police officer was also kidnapped by anti-government groups, but escaped in the early hours of the morning. President Rafael Correa recently addressed the unrest by calling on opposition groups to respect democracy. Since last Thursday's national strike, which ended in violence, protests continuing across Ecuador with relative calm in Quito and pockets of violence registered in other parts of the country. Our correspondent Liz Scherfers brings us the latest from Quito.
With only a few hundred people maintaining a presence in Quito's El Arbolito Park, tranquility has returned to the city, which has been the center of violent protests of the past week. The political coalition United Front has classified the national strike and indigenous uprising a failure, as it failed in its aims to create a national stoppage and had a lower turnout than expected.
The Ecuadorian people turned their backs on the strike. There was no strike. This is very important to point out. For there to be a strike, that means you need to shut down factories, halt economic activities. But there was not a single strike in any factory in the country. Workers, business owners, people in the transportation sector, economic sectors did not go on strike.
The opposition protest of last Thursday failed in their violent attempts to break into the Carondelet Presidential Palace in Quito, and Independence Plaza was filled with supporters of the Citizens' Revolution. People from across the country have since remained in the plaza, showing their rejection of violence and their support for policies of this government.
My son is studying at the university, and I have seen changes in education and work, and everything that is infrastructure and public works for our students. I am from a poor community where we have seen changes, and we are very thankful to the president. That is why we are here.
Outside of Quito, pockets of violence continue. Some 600 police officers were attacked in the southern province of Loja when trying to clear a roadblock, and 30 people of the Konai indigenous movement were subsequently detained. A kidnapped police officer escaped in the early hours of Tuesday morning.
They want to show their political strength through violence, not through popular support, not through organization, not through legitimate forms of social protest.
The opposition continues rejecting the call to participate in the national dialogue for equality and social justice. This dialogue continues expanding into increasingly more neighborhoods and taking over public spaces across the country, while the opposition is expected to continue their protests in the days to come. Liz Scherfers, Telesur, Ecuador.
Staying in Ecuador, the Cotopaxi volcano continued to show signs of activity yesterday. Smoke and ash billowed from the volcano throughout the day, prompting the Red Cross to distribute face masks and goggles to nearby communities. Authorities say they are closely monitoring the volcano, but they maintain that a large eruption remains unlikely. The Mexican government has now vowed to crack down on violence against journalists. The statement was made in response to a letter from over 500 international intellectuals, including Noam Chomsky, who called on the government to do more to protect members of the media and the freedom of the press. Mexico is considered one of the most dangerous countries in the world for journalists, and many say the government isn't doing enough to prosecute violence against media in the field. Hundreds of activists and journalists protested again on Tuesday. To Colombia now, where the government's lead negotiator in FARC peace talks has said that changes to the constitution may be on the table. The top negotiator, Humberto de la Calle, said that the government would be willing to propose changes to the constitution if it would lock in a peace agreement, but admitted such a proposal hasn't yet been discussed with the FARC. Chile's government is facing a legal battle with the tobacco industry. The government is seeking to pass new legislation to ban menthol-flavored cigarettes, which it says are designed to appeal to children in a country with the highest rate of smokers per capita in the region. British American Tobacco has responded by threatening to shut down its production line in Chile, arguing the bill goes too far. However, advocates of the menthol ban say that new legislation with tighter rules is needed to help children from becoming addicted. And now a brief of other stories making headlines across the globe.
The German parliament voted in favor of backing a third bailout for Greece. Before the lawmakers voted, German's Prime Minister Wolfgang Schäuble said there were no guarantees of success in Greece with this deal, but said it would be irresponsible not to give Greeks the chance for a new start. Lawmakers were expected to overwhelmingly support the $95 billion bailout. This in spite that Chancellor Angela Merkel faced a dangerous rebellion in her own party ranks. Schäuble told skeptical lawmakers this was the best path for the Eurozone to follow. Of course, after the experience of the last years and months, there is no guarantee that everything will work and we are allowed to have doubt. But in view of the fact that the Greek parliament has already passed a large part of the measures, it will be irresponsible not to use the opportunity for a new start in Greece. Arguing that the Islamic State group poses grave dangers to neighboring Middle Eastern countries and Europe, Libya has asked Arab League for military intervention to help defeat this extremist group in the country's coast city of Sirte. The Libyan Foreign Minister Mohammed Al-Deri mailed the petition in Egypt during an urgent meeting of the Arab League. After the meeting, the Arab bloc released a statement. In it, they agreed it is urgent to combat the Islamic State group and assisting Libya in doing so. The Turkish Prime Minister Ahmet Davutoglu officially gave up trying to form the next government. This comes after weeks of coalition talks failed, raising the prospect of a fractious interim administration leading the country to a new election before the year ends. The Prime Minister has handed the mandate back to President Tayyip Erdogan, who can now hand it to the Republican People's Party, Turkey's second biggest party. But it is also highly unlikely that they will be able to form a coalition before an August 23rd deadline. The opposition had expressed its dissent. I believe that the people will show their will at the ballot box against this presidential coup. Ms. Davutoglu should hand over the mandate as soon as possible. He said a coalition government is no longer an option. Therefore, he should return the mandate and the president is expected to give the mandate to form the government to the party that came out as the second party in the elections. Aside from the political crisis Erdogan is facing, the president has new concerns. The Islamic State group published a video calling Turkish people to rebel and fight against the rule of infidel and traitor Erdogan and help conquer Istanbul. Speaking in Turkish, an Islamic State militant accused Erdogan of selling the country to the United States and the Kurdistan Workers' Party or PKK. Turkey agreed last month to open its strategically important bases to the US-led coalition for airstrike against ISIS. He made you slaves to the crusaded United States and sold all of your values. Then Tayyip Erdogan continues to be lucky just to maintain his post, which is on the point of losing. A heat wave in Egypt has killed 106 people since last week. 8 more people died on Monday according to local officials. Temperatures this week soared to 47 degrees Celsius in Egypt's south. This is equivalent to 117 degrees Fahrenheit. Experts say the temperatures are expected to remain high in the south over the next few days. A recent heat wave in India killed over 2,200 people.
And thanks to our news team in Quito, Ecuador for the world news. We close this morning's newscast in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Salon tango dancers from around the globe are showing off their skills in the World Tango Festival and Championships. The event is one of the best-known tango events worldwide. Thousands of couples are participating in the event, which is held annually. Since tango's international popularity has taken off in recent years, tourists now flock to the Argentine capital to watch the heated battles between the world's top dancers. The event runs until August 27th. For more on these and other stories, please visit our website, telesurtv.net/English. For Telesur English, I'm Regan Devine. Another news brief coming to you at midday.